On that rather charming note, welcome to Little Nightmares, where throughout this Let's Play, Rob is going to be exceptionally calm and not get annoyed at the fact that, despite a month of 3 AM wake-ups, he still has yet to secure a PlayStation 5. And so, to stop it from making it so you're waiting for an eternity, Rob has decided to do yet another short Let's Play, just so then, if he does get a PS5, no footage is lost. So we're playing a niche little horror game that he thoroughly enjoyed back when it first came out, called Little Nightmares. However, he previously played it before any of the DLC came out, so he doesn't own any of said DLC. So we're only covering the main game for now, and I'll come back for the DLC at a later time. Listen, to be fair, Little Nightmares, it's a fun horror game. It's not perfect. It's far from it, actually. There's a lot of little things that I wasn't keen on my playthrough, but I enjoyed it enough that I knew I wanted to talk about it at some point, and this is a good enough some point as I'm going to get, whilst I still wait for, you know, the stars to align, so I can get a PlayStation 5 and start doing bigger projects again without risking of losing any progress. Little Nightmares, the reason why it gets its name is that you're a very little person and there's a lot of big nightmares. You play as Six, this little girl in a bright yellow raincoat, trying to survive this questionable environment known as the Moor. I would say we learn more about the Moor as it goes on, but the only reason why I'm telling you what this place is called now is because one of the biggest criticisms I have of this game is that the way it handles its mysteries is to give you nothing. And I say this, like, there are a lot of games where they deliberately leave it on loose ends. Death End of Quest 1 is a good example of this, where it deliberately leaves itself on a loose end and doesn't explain a lot of what's going on, but it gives you pieces so you can work it out. There's a lot of little small pieces that you can use to work out and put things together and make your own idea as to what everything means that you just don't get in this game. They had to write a prequel book that came out several months after its launch to explain shit because people just had absolutely nothing to go on. And I'll try my best, but don't expect me to go too hard on the lore or anything. I just know this place is called the Moor, and there's a lot of creepy shenanigans that are going on. I've yet to actually play the sequel either, so I won't be cross-referencing it to Little Nightmares 2. And I also haven't played this game in a long while, so it'll be interesting to see what I remember as I go through. So I haven't really practiced before this, I'm just trying to work off memory from a very long time ago. That said, I have 100%ed this game before. The only trophy I'm missing is Hard to the Core, which is do the whole game in under an hour without dying, and I just don't care for speedrunning achievements or trophies in any game. Even if it's the only trophy or achievement left in a game, I still won't bother, because I just have zero interest. Unless it's exploitable, like say the Uncharted speedruns, where the Uncharted speedruns are really glitchy, where if you like kind of save and quit during it and then return to it, on Uncharted 1 at least, I haven't tried it with 2 or 3, so once again just couldn't be bothered, it kind of destroys the timer. So even if you spend longer than the speedrun trophy requirement, you will get the speedrun trophy when you're done anyway, because the way it just registers everything goes out of whack. But the way this Let's Play will work, since I should actually talk about our little heroine here, Six, and her adventures to try and get out of here, is that you're not just trying to escape the Moor, you're also trying to find food because you're on the brink of starvation. And it's literally, throughout the course of this, you're going to see little glimmers of food, and it's like the only thing keeping her going. And if you don't get it, well, she's going to start really suffering. I say that, but there's no real hunger mechanic, it's a very scripted thing. Also, be aware of these leashes. The amount of times I run into these fucking like that. Alright, that's death 1. I was saying, the amount of times I just accidentally run in and just get just barely close enough to trigger their hitbox, it's annoying. I think that was the main reason why I never bothered trying to do the speedrun achievement slash trophy when this first came out, because the idea of the trophy isn't just being fast, it's doing it with 0 deaths. And I just think the idea of doing it with 0 deaths, when I think there's a few too many things that feel not completely out of your hand, but just enough out of your hand that it feels like you could just ruin a run at level 4. And I'm specifically mentioning level 4. We're in level 1 right now, And the way this will work in terms of the project Let's Play and the length of the videos is that I'm going to do one level / zone per video. Once the zone finishes, I finish the recording. And I'm also doing it live, because why not? So if I end up getting off topic or run into a wall for a second, you'll know why. Because if anyone's been on this channel for a while knows that I am pretty infamous at any time it's live getting really badly off topic instead of talking about what's going on about the game. But I think I'd like to think that people that watch me know that sort of thing. Which, speaking of, since I've not been doing Let's Plays for the past month or so, I've been doing a lot more one-off videos, my subscriber count's grown. And so I do feel like I almost need to mention that yes, this is my normal way of going. I am pretty laid back. Even though we're playing a horror game, you're not going to hear me go over there and overreacting to anything that scary happens. Even if something makes me jump, you might hear me gasp like quietly, but that'll be about it. Like, I've never been the sort of person to be loud with horror and jump scares, because it's not my thing, it's not me. We're going to be dealing with that thing later on. Oh, ran into the wall. Told you I'd run into a wall. I was too busy looking at the thing. But I tend to try and be as laid back as possible. I might chuck in your joke there, but nothing's ever scripted. Even in the big projects that are post-commentary, I always just wing it as I go kind of thing. It's just what I prefer to do. I love playing video games, and I love talking to people about it, so when I do these Let's Plays, I just want it to be off the cuff and enjoyable. The closest thing to scripting I have ever done in Let's Plays was Hitman Blood Money, and even then it wasn't that I wrote anything down. I just, before I started the video, made sure beforehand I knew exactly what points I wanted to talk about before I talked about it. I didn't just click record and start talking and hope that my mind can fill in the blanks later. That was the only one where I kind of made any effort to plan ahead, because there's different strategies that I needed to explain, so I needed to make sure I actually explained shit. But to complement this game on a few other things as we're running through, I adore the fact... Well, I say adore, that's probably the wrong word for it. I enjoy the fact that Six does wear this bright yellow raincoat, because it makes her so much easier to spot out in darker environments. Which is probably the biggest thing why I've been hesitant to approach the sequel, because the sequel, you're in like this drab brown costume. Like the new character you play as, it's like this drab brown costume with like a paper bag over their head. And it's just like, if I end up blurring into the background, that's going to be more annoying. Like, I'd always rather a brightly dressed protagonist, even if it doesn't make sense, just so I can see where you are. I don't have to play Where's Wally every time I go into a dark environment or a crowded environment. But remember rightly, there's another gnome over here. There's two sets of collectibles, well, technically three, because there's candles as well, but I'll explain that in a sec. You've got the gnomes, and you've got the statues. The gnomes, you run up to them, hold right trigger or R2, and you'll give them a hug. They count as a collectible, so try and give as many of them as hugs as possible. If I miss any, in the last part, I will like montage cut me going back and getting them all, because I know doing it live, I'll forget one or two's placement. I know where all of them are, I'll forget in the moment kind of thing. I know it will happen, so I'll just clean up any I missed at the end. But the other one is the statues, which are these small statues of the fair lady who you saw for a split second at the very opening of the game. The one in Six's dream that just kind of looks at us all menacingly. You can find little statues of... Well, actually saying that, there's one coming up right now. There's one right here. So you pick it up and you just chuck it. You chuck it with the X button on PlayStation, A button on Xbox. The bottom face button, basically. If you tap it, you'll just kind of throw it a little bit, but if you hold it down, you'll launch the son of a bitch. There is a trophy that registers you jumping on any bed 6 times, so, you know, feel free to do that there to register it as well. I didn't need to do it again, but... oh well. So they're your two main ones. The reason why I say technically candles as well, but not really, is that you don't need to get every single candle in this game, and they don't register as a collectible in any sense of the word. Instead, a trophy just pops... oh, actually, this is the introduction, yeah, to the long-armed being. Worth mentioning, this fucker's completely blind. So if you can stick to carpets, you'll be fine, because it won't hear you move, as long as you're not, you know, straight up sprinting. Just gonna waddle over there. Oh, you can't climb over this? Alright, time to go onto the wood. Be wary of that the wood can creak. Can we really not jump up there? Nah. Well, it sounded like it left anyway by the sounds of the door. Yeah, let's just go, see what happens. My controller is vibrating, which is why I'm staying quiet, because it tells me that your controller is a good indicator in this game of when you're at threat and when you're not. Because like now it's just stopped vibrating, so I'm going to get up and carry on moving because it's telling me I'm safe. Oh, do we climb the cage? Yeah, we do. To climb, you hold down R2 as well. You might have noticed there's no real tutorials at all in this. We just kind of ran along like there's nothing on the screen. Tutorials will only pop up if you get stuck in the opening area. Like, if you run up to something that requires you to hold R2, and you just kind of stand in front of it for a minute, it will then pop up and tell you. But if you just go up and do it, the game won't care. It will only tutorialize you in the opening area if you prove that you're not sure what you're supposed to do. Also, full damage is a thing in this game, so be wary. Oh, this is what I was on about earlier. I forgot this was now, I thought it was a little later on. Six's starvation is starting to affect her health drastically, and so we need a glimmer of food to even remotely entertain going forward. So her stomach's going to keep on growling, but it's not an actual like mechanic per se. It's just for scripted moments in the story. So every time it pops up, just roll with it, because it's not. There's never a point where you have to like deal with your starvation whilst avoiding a threat, sort of thing. They're all just scripted moments. There's one thing I can criticize. I kind of wish they did a little more with this. Like, if you're going to do it, go the whole way. Whilst they do use it more as a narrative piece in a game that doesn't have a narrative per se, because they don't give you anything to work out what's going on. Like, I'd much rather there be a bit where you're, like, where Six is starving out, and she can't run because she's too weak, and then you have to try and avoid an enemy. Because that would have been a nice enough mix-up where you're weaker and less able. Like, she can't even draw a lighter when she's at her weakest, so you could really have made it like a darkness mechanic, having to navigate at the hells. But no, they never go down that route. I say that, maybe the sequel will, because like I said, yet to play it. Or maybe even the DLCs, because they have to play them either, but we'll see. But I know in the DLCs you don't play as Six, you play as someone else. But anyway, as we're climbing up this section, to sort of give you a breakdown of what's been going on, sort of thing. I'm still going to do those odd Genshin videos every time new story stuff comes up, because I enjoy doing it. And so expect more of them as time goes on. They're just offbeats, because they're easy enough to make, so I just hit record, and then if I comment on something as I go, I comment on it. There's a lot of little moments that I do comments on, that when I go back on and go, no, that's not really adding anything or entertaining, so then I just remove it. I removed the audio file, which is why there's, like, I think it was Xiao's story quest, or either that or it was no, it might have been Dan Sleeth's or Dane Sleeth's. Dane Sleeth's one, I really didn't talk that much during it. Outside of the domain, I mean. Because there wasn't that much that I felt like I could add to it. Like, when we was exploring the domain, it's just me and the gameplay, so I was like, well, I need to talk about something. But when it was the story beats, I kind of didn't comment on it as much, because I didn't have much to say, and most of the things I did say, when I went back on it, went, no, that's not really entertaining or insightful in any way, so I just got rid of it. But I still will be doing them. I am still planning for Let's Plays. It's just, as I keep saying, and will keep on saying until I get it, you can't transfer over recorded footage between PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, so I don't want to be in the middle of a large project and then transfer up, and it just be either record the rest of it on PS4 whilst my PS5's sitting around, or start the recording again so I can record it at a better quality. Because I know for a fact you can record at 1080p, which is a big thing for this channel since it's always ever been 720/30, but I want to see if you can record at 60, or if they've not leaned into it as much. If you can record at 60, if it's one of those things where it's like 4K 30 or 1080 60, it'll be 1080 60 every time. I'd much rather the frame rate over the quality, because I'm a reasonable human being. Also, there's the next gnome. You free it from the cage and follow it back here, you should be able to find it. Oh, there he is. Come here, little guy. Here's a hug. It's a really sweet collectible when you think about it. But yeah, there is big things I want to do. I still actually need to finish my first playthrough of Fairy Fencer. I just keep on putting it off. It's not that I'm not enjoying it. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It's just... I don't know, I think I've burnt myself out a little bit with Idea Factory games. And so, when I was started to play it, I was like, I'm just not feeling it yet. Because I've done so many Idea Factory games, either in my spare time or Let's Playing. Like, when you think I did 4 playthroughs of Death End Request 2 in the end. I did my blind playthrough, the New Game Plus playthrough to see the extra scenes, then the next one was my recorded one, but my recorded playthrough, I needed to show off the bad ending, and the missing scenes I didn't get, as well as show off the pain area, so I had to do another playthrough. Yes, the 4th playthrough I skipped all the cutscenes and raced through it, but the point stands, I did 4 playthroughs of that game. And I love it, but doing 4 playthroughs in a row of any turn-based JRPG is a good way of wearing yourself thin. And so afterwards, going to Fairy Fencer, as much as I was enjoying it, and I find the game hilarious, the game's writing is old-school Idea Factory writing. And what I mean by that is that the older Idea Factory... Oh, we got this section. Oh, didn't realise I was that much out there. Okay, it doesn't kill you instantly if you get spotted by the eye. It just will burn you up if you stay in its sight for too long. But, so I've only got a minute left to talk before we reach the end of this section, or a minute or so, because I'm pretty sure it's the last section of this bit before we end the zone. Like, I'm enjoying it, and I enjoy the writing, because their old school writing is a lot cheekier and less serious than it is nowadays. And I say that, like, I count NEP 4 when I say, like, the nowadays style, because NEP 4 is still funny as hell. You heard how many times I giggled like a maniac playing NEP V2R, and I still think it has a lot of charm. I'm just going to quickly check if there's anything back here whilst I chat, just to kill time, really. But, even then, like, you get to the 3rd act of that, it gets a lot more serious. Like, it's still cheeky, it's still having a laugh and messing around with itself, but Uzume is prepared to die. There's this more dread in it. There's things like that. Like, the later Idea Factory games still know how to be really funny, but they have grown up a bit. But I kind of still like the less grown up stuff. I like the older ones. Why I'm looking forward to, as much as I criticize it, the remaster of a port of NEP 1. Because I'm looking forward to the first game's really dumb sense of humour again. Even if the first game, I'll warn you now, because we're about to wrap up, is 99% boob jokes. And on that note, I'll see you next time as we enter level 2 of Little Nightmares and deal with the blind, small dwarf monster long arm thing.